Hello and welcome to yet another Legends of Runeterra podcast. I am Conansson and I'm once again joined by two amazing guests. First of all, my new co-host, Leer. Hello, Leer.
What's up?
Nice of you to join again. And today we have a very special guest. We have We the Peoples on our podcast, the main admin of the Mystic Shot podcast, the host of the Mystic Shot podcast and tournament, and the head admin Aegis. Let's have you here.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Yo, that is an intro.
Yes, I mean, look at this Twitter profile. Like you are 1 year older than me. I'm like 25, and you're already a husband, a dad, a YouTuber, a head admin, and if you're on tournament, like what don't you do? That's like insane.
Yeah, I do a little bit of things.
Do you want to add
Oh
anything to your
man,
introduction? Tell us a little bit who you are and what you do.
yeah, of course. So as Conansson did say, my name is We the Peoples. I think my first name is pretty out there already because of rack spoiling. But either way, I don't mind if people call me Eric. That is uh, that is my first name. I don't mind if people call me that. But I do live in New York City. Because again, I do a lot of stuff in New York City. I have tried to bring the Runeterra scene a little bit more outside to the Brookland. So that is also another project I am working on. But I do a lot of things. I have been trying to work on pretty much. Excuse me. I have been pretty much just trying to work on esports for Legends of Runeterra. That's pretty much my biggest goal. Is trying to like bring, uh, you know, trying to make people know that Legends of Runeterra is here. It's an amazing card game, first of all, and second of all, how it definitely deserves a little bit more spotlight than it has been getting. So that's what I've been trying to
Yeah,
work on.
I think that's something everyone, like every law player, can agree on that. It's just nice to have people like you that try to push the game to new heights.
Yeah, I mean that's what I tried to do. I mean when I first came into the LOR space, I definitely wasn't doing that. I think it was mostly just because there were already people already working on that. Well, that's what I thought either way. Because I had started doing like podcasts. That was my love for the game. Really was like podcasting was mostly just talking about the game, mostly just a player, mostly just like just trying to be as good as possible at the game and such. So that's where my love for the game started. But then it evolved into me wanting to run tournaments, which is a big leap, right? That's like a huge leap. Like most players wouldn't care about a game enough to want to run tournaments. But like I said, I did see the game in a different perspective. And I mean, not saying that I'm not a good player because I think I am. I think I'm a pretty decent player at the game, but I think um, it's more about like wanting to get like more players and more eyes on the game. I think that's worth way more than any good player. Like not saying anything about any player out there, like maybe like Allen or um, you know, any good player. Like I would call people like Kaizen good players or like Dudu Nunu, people like that, or like Matty Mayo. Like I would say those like the good players in the game. I wouldn't say anything about them particular. But I would say it's more just for me. I know what I'm good at, and I'm good at like talking about the game. I'm good at like getting people hyped. Like I'm like in IRL, I'm like a hype man. So like I know what I'm good at. So that's what I'm doing.
I
Definitely.
think that's also something that people can relate to because for me it was a little similar because I also started as this player and then over time I developed an interest in reading articles and then writing some of them myself. So I think it's a common ground where every player starts out at playing the game, right? That's why we get interested in LOR. And it's really beautiful that we can just find different occupations within the LOR cosmos.
Yeah,
Some
100%.
people do tournaments, some people do articles, some people do rule posts. Everyone can do what they can do best. Yeah, it's really nice. Fill this role of the. Maybe let's talk a little bit more about the tournament. Can you tell us about the format?
Yeah, no problem. Yep, I can definitely explain Mystic Shot. So the Mystic Shot podcast weekly tournaments. That's actually the full name. I hate to say that; it's such a mouthful. Um, but Mystic Shot weekly tournaments. It's basically a weekly tournament, as I
Wow,
literally just
mind
said
blown.
in the name. It is a weekly tournament that I run through the Discord. Pretty much, we run single limb. Reason why we ended up settling on single limb mostly is because at the time there were a lot of different tournaments that were like more like you had to give up a lot of your day and you had to like really try your hardest to like give up a lot of time. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing because I mean, like, you know, it's card games. Like, you want to have like more than one shot at, you know, a tournament run. But I think the Mystic Shot is more like a tournament where you think about it weekly and you're just like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna, you know, play my shot at Mystic Shot this week. And then, you know, there's gonna be another one next week. If you lose, you lose. It is what it is, you know? That was my goal, just to make like a tournament where anybody could play and just like they could just be a part of it. They don't have to like give up their whole entire day to like play in the tournament. They could just like play one match or they could play one tournament run. If they lose, they lose. It is what it is. It's not Swiss. It's not like you have to literally play like 5-6 hours in a day and just like really grind and really like try to be a part of it. Like, yes, you can drop, but like 9 times out of 10, if somebody's saying like, all right, next round is up, like 9 times out of 10, people are trying to play that next round.
Yeah.
So that was my goal, was to make a tournament that is like less committal. Like, you don't have to commit a lot of time to playing a single limb tournament. So that was my goal. So that's where the format comes from.
And
I
that's
see. I think that makes a lot of sense because a lot of players are just casual players, right? They don't do this. Well, professionally, I don't think we have a lot of real pro players in LOR, but also just people that have a lot of time. Like, I think we also, I mean, I'm maybe going on a leap here, but we also have a lot of mature players that are probably having like a day job and they don't have the time to play in the middle of the week, so they can only like spend their weekends. But then they maybe want to spend time with their family or something. So yeah, I think it's a really good thought to like speak to those players that don't have as much time as like university students, for example.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was the initial goal when I first started. It has been evolving. It has been changing because I have tried double limb. It was a mess. I have tried Swiss. That was also like crazy. Like, it was like a 8-9 hour tournament. So
Yep.
yeah, it's striking a balance. It's striking a balance. That's what it is with LOR tournaments. Trying to strike a balance between, like, you know, you understanding how much time you're giving up, like a player is giving up, and I think that's like the really cool moment of like, obviously I'm not like a TO that's like from another game, and it's like I've been a player before. So it's like I understand, like, oh, if I have to give up my whole day and pretty much I'm not like getting a lot out of it. And that was like another thing, is like, you see how the prize pools are not like humongous prize pools or anything. It's like $25 prize pools. Like, if you play and you win, you're like, hey, I just won like $15. It is what it is. Like, it's like when you play in a Swiss and you win like $20, you're like, yo, what is this? Like, it's I'm not saying that it's bad, because I don't want to come at people that do run tournaments like that, but I think that it's like time that you're giving up worth like is worth a lot more than you know, like you could be spending that time to go do other things, is what I'm saying, rather than like playing in LOR tournaments. And I think that that's what I was trying to kind of like hone in on, is like people that really don't have as much time, or even if they do have time, like they can there are different tournaments that I would push them to. And that's why even in the Discord, I also have a literal like I have a literal tournament upcoming tournaments tab that literally all the tournaments. It's not like I'm only putting my tournaments there. I have a link to Woke's Discord where he posts all the tournaments that are happening. So even if Mystic Shot isn't what you're looking for, I'm not hiding all the tournaments. They are right there. They are right there in the Discord. So, I don't know. I think I try to be a more of like a beacon for like people that want to get into LOR, and I think that that's what was missing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's also nice to have like these community peoples like Sentupia, for example. He just posts on his Twitter like every tournament that's basically taking place, and also now the results. And then, yeah, how, as you said, like Woke, finding all these tournaments. And it's just so useful to, as a player, have like this one place where you can go to and find everything that's going on.
Yeah, it's definitely super useful. I think that people should definitely be looking at some of the things that a lot of these community figures have been cooking, because Woke has been working hard.
It's so crazy how much of a system we have for our tournaments and for our events, for our squads. I never experienced this much of a community growing in any other game. Systematic, some spreadsheets. We have seen Woke's like tournament earnings, everything. Mind blowing.
Yeah, just honestly, like when you see some of these spreadsheets and you see some of the things that some of these community figures work on, you're like, you can't say anything but wow, like
yeah,
like it's just man, that's a different love for the game, honestly. And I think that's what motivates me personally, and motivates me to like wanna continue to do what I do, and also continue to want to bring new people in. And I think that's like, don't get me wrong, it's like the hardest thing, because obviously LOR is like a card game. There's not a lot of people in general that are like into card games, so it can be difficult. But I think a big thing is like obviously the Riot IP. I think people will always be willing to try things when they see Riot literally on the logo, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think that's a good selling point.
Talking a little bit, I mean, it's not always like all happy places, right? Especially for the EMEA scene, we've been losing like weekly tournaments again and again. Like before, there was like this nice Cactus weekly tournament that's now gone, and we had obviously the Giant Slayer Fight Night tournaments. Those are also gone now. So especially if you live in EMEA or want to participate there and only have an EMEA account, there are not really many tournaments you can even participate in. And you don't really have much to look forward to. So I think that also for this reason, I really like, I'm really happy that there's at least this one weekly tournament that you're doing that you can look forward to. Even if you don't always participate, you just know it's there. Maybe you can even like watch it on stream instead of playing. It's just nice to have something as an EMEA player you can look forward to every week.
Yeah, I think that was another huge leap for me personally. Coming into EMEA was like huge for me because I think for a certain extent, um, not saying that I didn't want to do it, but I just knew it was gonna be big, right? I knew it was I wanted to do it the right way, and I wanted to do it to a point where I wanted people to be a part of it. Like I didn't want people to look at it and be like, "Oh, this is just another random tournament that's probably gonna disappear like next week." So I wanted to really figure out like what exactly I wanted to add to EMEA and not just really just create more static. So I mean, but once I actually looked into it and I was like, damn, there really ain't no tournaments. Like what's going on?
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta work on this. So I almost did it like immediately, pretty much. So uh it and I to be honest, I do want to go, and I think I probably said this off air a little bit, but I am next month for November. I am taking a break from Mystic Shot just because of obviously ages. It is gonna take a huge toll out of me to be like running the America side of ages, and then on top of that, be doing like YouTube stuff, and then tournament stuff is just way too much. And then on top of that, for anybody that doesn't know, I also have like a whole family. So yeah, I'm just gonna take a break from Mystic Shot for literally 1 month. And then December we're gonna come back super duper strong. Um, and I'm really looking forward to it actually.
Yeah, it's really nice. You said that it wasn't, or that you were basically like you didn't want to build a tournament that would vanish next week. So what then were your biggest challenges so far in doing a tournament and keeping it up for several months now every week?
Um, well, it to be honest, it has been a little difficult, not gonna lie, to like keep people interested. I think that's like the main thing is like trying to keep people interested. But you know, prize pools help with that, right?
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. Let's keep it real. Prize pools definitely help with keeping people interested. I also think these amazing graphics also really pull people in and really allow them to, obviously visually see like, okay, there's this happening on this week and that happening on that week. That does also help. And I think also the other biggest thing is the streams, right? The streams also definitely bring people in and definitely allow people to like see the games, and they're like, wait, I didn't know this was happening on Tuesday. What tournament is this? I don't know how many people hit me up from the Twitch and was like, wait, this the LOR tournament happening on Tuesday? And I'm like, yeah, it's been happening for the last 6 months. And they're like, I had no idea this was happening. So that also definitely helps a lot. So, but it has been difficult, obviously. There's times when sometimes the numbers are down, but I think Mystic Shot usually gets between like 30 on like a low day and like 50 on like a high day. Talking about Americas, EMEA. It to be honest, EMEA has been like pretty much just like 25 to on the higher end. It's usually no higher than like 40. So, and I think that's pretty good in my opinion, because like I said, I didn't want to create a tournament that was like gonna disappear overnight. So I think 25 to like 40 people is good for EMEA.
Yeah, I also think there's like a general direction of America's chart just being the biggest like probably by far.
Hmm.
We see it in the amount of tournaments that are run, maybe, and even basically like a lot of the EMEA players have AM accounts to play on the America chart.
Hmm.
And also, I as an article writer, I know that like most articles on our website get clicked at times where America people are active and awake. So it definitely shows that most players and or most people that consume LOR are definitely from America.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. 100%. 100%. Um, I think just depending on like what time you decide to do things. So I think that's another major thing. And that was another issue with EMEA, not gonna lie, because obviously I have no idea what time it is there. And I'm also not a resident of EMEA, so I had to like literally put out a poll and try to figure out like what time is good for EMEA, and then obviously like interview some people, try to figure out. So that was another challenge with EMEA, especially. I think for Americas, I already kind of knew, because like I said, I was a player, so I kind of already had a feel for what time I wanted to do things. So, sometimes I flip flop between certain times, and I know I'm gonna get a certain amount of people. But for EMEA, it was definitely a little bit more difficult.
I remember when I joined like ABG to play more tournaments, and waiting for all the tournaments in EMEA to happen, and watching all the AM players playing the tournaments, playing there, playing this league, playing that league, team tournaments, and it was Friday night and the Mystic Shot, but weren't really any events happening. They were with me, just sitting here waiting for our time to shine. All about creating AM accounts as well. I'm glad we have this opportunity here in the day, not at least, but very good opportunity. And also that you mentioned with the timing, I recently played a draft tournament, and it was Swiss, and also just one round each week, dragged on for like forever, for 2 months. I really like your format of just quick in, quick out, and you don't have to commit a day or really cool format.
Yeah, I mean that like I said before, that was pretty much my initial thinking. Was just trying to get people to spend as little bit amount of time on tournaments, and I think it's been working well.
Maybe if you to somebody watching right now who has no idea how to join a tournament or how to participate, you can a quick introduction. So, Discord probably.
Yep.
And a link in the description below to all of these tabs I have open. Description and the Discord. Then
You go to Mystic Shot upcoming. It's under LOR tournaments. Mystic Shot upcoming tournaments. Yeah. Right underneath tournament announcements.
Oh, this one. Okay.
Yeah. And that shows you the tournaments that are coming up. I post it on Mondays. Honestly I should post it on Sundays. But I basically post there what tournaments are coming up for the week.
And just log in there and tournament rules, fast format, and everything here. I guess you can also chat afterwards if you have any questions here in the general, right? Tournament issues, looking for opponents. Then the tournament, very easy.
Yeah, also don't get worried by low participant numbers that's currently showing. Like most people just sign up like 5 minutes before the tournament to check and starts.
100%. 100%. Oh my, you don't even know how many times that I was literally just talking to wifey. I'm like, you know what? I think I might cancel this week. And she's like, why? And she's like, because I only have like 10 people. She's like, no. Give them like 5 minutes. I go up, I literally go get something to drink, come back, there's 30 people in the tournament.
Insane.
I'm like, hey, yo, what's going on?
They all just want to prevent super scouting. They're like, log in before, then all of my opponents will look up all of my checklists.
So at this point, I never cancel a tournament. I never cancel a tournament. I just let it play out. If I see it's like super duper low numbers, then I'll like address it maybe on Twitter, or maybe I'll address it in the Discord and be like, oh, is nobody interested, blah blah blah. And try to see, like, try to feel out like why people wouldn't be interested. Maybe, like, maybe there are other events happening, because that can definitely happen. Even though I've tried not to do any kind of tournaments on, like, say for instance, like, seasonal. Like, I wouldn't, like, say for instance, if my tournament was on like a weekend, I would never run my tournament because if seasonal was happening. Like, no, never. So if there are other events happening, I would definitely, like, either cancel or make it so that it happens on a different day. So but Tuesdays and Thursdays is usually nothing happening, so I don't usually run into that issue.
Everyone else is Monday Madness. That's how you all coordinate it when a tournament happens. Not much overlap. When I played like StarCraft, there were 5 tournaments. You had to choose at the same time. Play one or the other. Much more organized. LoR scene, everybody knows each other. It's like, yeah, I feel this is a competition, but just augment each other and fit together as a grand team of things. Feel each other's play.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely agree with that. I mean, I would never run an EMEA event on Monday.
That would be kind of rude.
I would never do that. No lie. That would be so rude to Ice T. Like, I would literally be just like spitting him in the face. Like, I wouldn't do that.
So you mentioned that you also are now one of the tournament organizers for the Aegis League, right? So how did that happen, that you changed from weekly tournaments, running your own weekly tournaments, to going to like the Aegis esports and becoming a tournament organizer there?
I mean, really? Wait, you said how did I do that?
I didn't say how I do it. It was a question, like, how did you like come up with it, or like how did this transformation go from doing weekly tournaments on your own to joining Aegis?
Oh, I mean, I feel like that was a lot more simple than EB, but it was pretty much literally needed some, like, a head admin, because at the time they didn't have one. So I pretty much just applied for it, and a lot of the people, to be honest, they already knew of me, which I was like, holy crap, people at Aegis know me. Like, I had no clue. I literally did not know. So, people, I'll definitely say this: the more you give into a community, the more people will know you.
Yeah.
And it really is that simple.
It's also something that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna add in, like, I didn't really know people looked at some of the events that I had run, or looked at the weekly tournaments that I had ran, and already really knew me. So when I had applied, because they literally had like a obviously they were like looking for somebody. So when I applied, they had already knew me. So it was really a simple interview. It was very, like, a simple, in my personal opinion, it was a simple, like, I pretty much got the position pretty simply. It wasn't anything hard, really.
Yeah.
And what was your motivation behind applying then? What was your motivation then behind applying for Aegis? Just you noticed that they needed someone and you wanted to fill the role, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always the kind of guy where I like supporting lots of different people. I don't like I kind of wanted to also know about Aegis' structure, because I think that's definitely very unique. I think Aegis is a very unique tournament. So I did want to know about the structure of Aegis and know more about, like, what happens behind the scenes and such. So that was also a big motivator for me. But I mean, like I said, these people already knew me, so it was simple.
You're very popular. Like, when you first, like, in the AB server, and you brought out this, also had you known crazy. Like, as soon as you start doing something for the community, just all the random people know you, and like I can't even play like 10 games right now. People will randomly tweet at me on Twitter, "Hey Conansson, nice game I had with you, and cool that you meet you on the ladder or something." It's just crazy how much recognition you get by doing these events. Congrats also from me to head admin slot. Very, very important. It's nice of you to support so many people. Helpful and not just like running your own chart, you're running your own business. Others. I try to do with my podcasts. Other people. But outs.
Yep. Definitely. That's like a big thing in our community, in my opinion, is like being able to support one another. I think it's also like the thing we were talking about earlier about like how you see like there's no overlapping events. There's no like people trying to like there's no people like trying to steal other people's participants because they're running tournaments on the same day. Like that usually never happens, in my opinion. And I think people don't like to step on each other's toes because I mean, like the LOR community is already like super small. So like if you step on somebody's toes, it's like 9 times out of 10 that person is probably gonna be somewhere where you're gonna need them. like imagine if somebody stepped on my toes and now I'm like the AM admin of ages. Like like that's kind of wild, right?
Crazy.
Yeah, so
Always
I
meets
think that's
twice
like a
in
big
life.
thing. Like I think that's like a big thing in the community is like you don't want to step on people's toes. Like you just want to be chill. Like if you have an issue with somebody, you address it obviously, but I think that's like a big thing. Is like you don't want to step on other people's toes, and you really just want to talk to people and be like, all right, I want to run this tournament. And it's gonna be on blah 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 day. Like, what's going on that day? Can I take a slot on that day? Like, what's the best day to run this? What's the best time to run this? That's like the main thing. It's like what's the best time? Because like, say for instance, if Ice-T's running his tournament at like early in the morning, then I mean, you could technically run a tournament in the afternoon. So sometimes it could work out, but depending on what time things line up. Maybe you won't be able to run a tournament on that day. Maybe you got to pick a different day. Maybe like Mystic Shot AM happens at 7:30. There are no early morning tournaments on Tuesdays. I'm just saying that is a slot. So you just got to look at what people are doing. You got to look at what other TOs obviously are doing, what other event planners are doing and such. And, just act accordingly. That's all.
Maybe we should also address this is called the Mystic Shot podcast. Is there still a podcast happening?
That is the running joke. Nah, not gonna lie. I mean, you guys literally didn't even know about the podcast.
I mean, I looked at the image before and it says podcast. So. And Leer, I think you asked if there's still a podcast happening as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So I do want to bring back the podcast for like obvious reasons like this. Like I like interviewing people and I like talking to people in the community. So I definitely would like to bring back the podcast. I think it's more of just me creating time for it in my schedule. Number 1, and number 2, me having people to interview. And number 3, also just finding time to also edit it as well, because I think that can also be a huge like time killer and time consumer. And I do a lot of things right now. So that's really just what it's been. I think the last episode was literally with Wick. He ended the podcast, guys.
Imagine Vic in the podcast.
The podcast confirmed.
Can you imagine doing a podcast with Vic there?
Oof, that's a horrible experience, right? No, I'm kidding.
Imagine.
We love you, Wick.
Vic is probably turned off right now. Episode.
Imagine doing a podcast with Wick. Hey, yo, couldn't be me, honestly. Oh man.
I think
I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
I think there's like a common theme that you said the podcast is a lot of work, and for example, with like editing the podcast, and I think that's a lot of times that people just don't see like how much work it is to do a podcast or to run a tournament, right? People are just like, oh yeah, it's probably really easy, and I think a lot of people don't appreciate it enough in that sense. Um, and yeah, I think that's something that it's good to raise the awareness of that these things take time, and yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. TOing takes so much energy out of me. Like after I finish TOing and running production for Mystic Shot, I'm ready to go to sleep. Like I'm slumped. Like literally, I feel like I don't even want to do anything for the rest of the day. And imagine how I used to feel, because I mean, right now I'm not working. I'm not working right before Mystic Shot. But when I first started Mystic Shot, I used to come home from my job and literally run Mystic Shot. And I used to literally go to work at like 8 o'clock, come home by 5, run Mystic Shot by 7:30. Like it was an insane schedule. So trust me, if you want to do it, you can do it. Literally.
I,
Yeah,
Man.
then well, I mean, we already did like a couple of shout outs, like Conan shouted you out for doing this, and we shouted out Wick. But are there other people you want to shout out that you met in this Mystic Shot cosmos?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's actually on the top of my head, there are two people that I would like to shout out. First shout out goes out to Doughy Nut. Yo, Doughy's helped me a lot. No cap. Like he if not for Doughy, I can't even sit here and lie to you guys. If not for Doughy, there would be no Mystic Shot tournament. Like no cap, no lie, serious. If not for Doughy, I would have never even got the idea to make the Mystic Shot tournament. Like I would have kept making like little small tournaments for because for anybody that doesn't know, I used to be on Lunatic Fringe, um, with Unhinged, and I used to run, or I was starting to. That's where I first started my tournaments. It was really just more of a, I guess you could say it was like a get together, I guess, but it was more of like it was more like internal tournaments between like Lunatic Fringe and like maybe another team. That was where I initially started the tournaments. But then I was already doing podcast episodes with Doughy, and he was like, "Yo, what if you like make this bigger?" And I was like, "How?" He was like, "Yo, just make it open and just put the link out there." And I was like, "You know what? You're right." So I gotta shout him out. There's no way I can talk about the tournament and not talk about Doughy. Like literally. um so second person for me to shout out. Um I'm not saying that this would be weird, but I think people don't look at him as like a person that is like behind the scenes because he's like big in the scene in my opinion. But another person is Shotox. Like Shotox literally, if not for Shotox, but the Discord would not be organized the way it is. No cap. I think I wish before we had started, I had sent you guys the tweet. But it was like a tweet that Shotox literally posted on Twitter. It was like, yo, all you need to start a tournament is a Discord, um, tournament issues tab, and a looking for opponent tab, and a results tab, and a spreadsheet tab, and you got a tournament. And I was like, yo, he kind of right. Like, so I think that was another thing that kind of like sparked my fire was Shotox literally posting that tweet, and I was like, yo, I gotta look into this tournament organizing thing. So yeah, that I gotta shout out those two people 100%.
It was so familiar to me. You did that, and I did this. This was Italy. Yes, this is how every has to what was there, and it's the same as other tournament. Basically, every other tournament.
Mhm.
Dogs.
Yeah,
I like
I
how
think a lot of people don't know how involved Shoutux is. Like Shoutux is actually super involved in the scene. Like they are a really really good player, obviously, but they are also very very involved in a lot of things that go on in the LOR scene, which is amazing, in my opinion.
of champion.
Hey,
I like how I am in the caster scene. I remember you reached out to like in Discords. I like every lore Discord, and you were like, "Hey, we still need some more casters, and are interested? You can write me a message." And I wrote you a message and was like, "Want to be? I don't probably won't be casting that often, but if you need somebody, and you can tell me."
send you a message. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so bad at sending people a message. I have to get better. No, no. All jokes aside, I have to get better at stuff like that. Honestly, I think I probably just forgot to send you a message. Really, that's really what it comes down to. And I think a lot of the times I'm kind of stuck in a position where I just wanna run the tournament, and I just wanna try to get through the day is really what it comes down to. But um I think when we come back from the little break that I said, I'm gonna organize the casting stuff a lot more because I actually have you see it there. I have a bunch of casters now, so I gotta
About
organize
amazing
it a little
names you
bit
have,
more.
like Roji, Ice-T, of course. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Ace is also,
Boulevard,
Boulevard, like
like
literally the caster of seasonals is casting Mystic Shot.
yeah,
It's
just
insane.
just
Classic
we
as
just
well.
yeah, we just cast a few seasonals. Nothing crazy, honestly.
Yeah, you have to join his caster crew as well. Their player.
Oh, I just want to win all the tournaments.
We all have our dreams. Did you ever win Mystic Shot Leer?
I only participated in like one or two, to be honest. Usually I kind of forget to sign up and then I find other things to do.
It's kind of overlapping with our podcast. So maybe let's get back to like a broader scheme. And what do you think about competitive lore in general? Is it growing? Is it dying as people say?
I mean, competitive lore is definitely growing in my opinion. I think it's definitely I think the right word is to describe it more of like it's maneuvering in different ways. I think with with like, COVID kind of like slowing down and kind of like not being the biggest thing right now, I think it's easier to have like maybe like I think I had talked about it on the podcast, maybe I didn't, but I think it's easier to have like maybe more outdoor events, and I think a lot of people are maybe thinking more about doing stuff like that because obviously with more outdoor events, it allows people not just like online, but people that like are not literally like Twitter or like even Reddit people to like actually look at the game and be like, hey, this is actually a cool game. Like, why don't I give this a try? Um, it allows those kind of people to kind of like see it. And I think that they would be more interested in playing the game. So I
Yeah,
think that's like a big thing.
I think Hearthstone did that right with the Fireside game. Failed get together and play the game on a table.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have
To
any
be
ideas
honest,
how?
Oh, okay. To be honest, I really miss like what other tournaments are doing, like Hearthstone or Gwent. Like have oh, just having offline tournaments. Like if seasonals would get played out offline, I mean, of course, it would cost like Riot more to like find people and stuff, but just having this offline feeling and also playing for something that you can go somewhere offline is like a really cool idea, I think. And that's, of course, LOR started in the COVID time, so it's definitely also a factor. But I would really love to see some tournaments getting played offline in the future.
Imagine having like LAN.
Sorry about that, guys.
No problem.
I think I'm still the like one of the only people paper quite tedious. It's really fun to pay for events in the future. Seasonals, you get the deck of your deck gets printed.
Sorry. How would lurk work? Would you have to call a judge over to look at the deck?
Oh, I would deck of the card. You can back symbol card out of this.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Or random card pools. Like Chloe, you just take 6 cards, 8 of them, and copies of each. Really tedious, and it was just starting around. You have to crash all the mana crystals. You have to carry over the spell mana. You have to unit, micro stuff, magic. Kind of derating from the competitive scene. I think the stage, Starcraft stage, is getting a trophy or something.
Yeah, definitely something to flex when you like put on a stream and you have a trophy standing in your back, right?
Yeah. Anything else you think competitive topic? What would you wish from Riot? Like if you as a tournament organizer would general grow more.
I think, and this is just my opinion, because I do look at some of the other scenes, like not naming any names, but no, I won't name any names, but
You can name
I do
names
look
like
at.
all play different. There is to do.
No. I am still referring to Runeterra, but I don't wanna put anybody at Riot on spotlight because I think they do a pretty decent job at the game. Not gonna lie, but I think there's just a little bit of like you know they could be doing things in a better way in my opinion. But I think for a Riot wish list, like I think they need to give people a reason to really play in outside tournaments, like grassroots tournaments, like kind of like support of grassroots tournaments.
How
I
would
think
they
right
do
now,
that? They give you like a card back for playing in these. I don't know. Yeah, the Riot coins. That's really great stuff about in-game prices, money around.
exactly. Or if they don't want to do either one of those things, because I get it. Like it would be giving free currency. They could literally just make it so that if you play in a grassroots tournament that has a certain amount of participants, you get a certain amount of like worlds points, which would be dope, in my opinion. Like if they literally are just against giving free Riot points, which I'm not against it, but I could see them not wanting to do that because it is hurting their monetization a little bit. They could literally make the tournaments like if you have like say for instance over 30 or 40 participants, then you get a certain amount of worlds points if you top four or something, you know, something like that. Um, Another thing that I wish that Riot would help with is advertising.
Yeah, like other games just have a tournaments tab and game where you can see all of the community. He's thinking of soccer, for example, just the game.
Yeah. And the tournaments tab, I mean, I'm definitely not against it, obviously, because you know it is good advertising, and it is like you know something literally in game that you could be like, hey, yo, look, I'm in the Riot client, let's go. Like I made, like you know, you feel super hyped about that. So you know, I get it. It's like they have to figure out how they would want to, um, I guess the right word is communicate the events, but I don't know. I think it would be way more simple than they're making it out to be, in my opinion. So, but I don't know. I don't know the logistics behind creating something like that, like uh, like a just a tab in the like not a tab in the tournament tab, but more like just a way to for grassroots tournaments to like advertise in the actual LOR client. I think that would be dope in my opinion, but we'll see in the future. But I think, and to be honest, I don't think LO for me personally, I don't think Riot needs to do anything else other than these two things. And I think if they did these two things, you do even understand how many more people would play in tournaments? Like the
But
number would be exponential overnight.
because like you have to go so much battles to find the tournament, like that with like one of the like the third spot where I start a new game, I play the game, I eventually look at YouTube, then I go on YouTube, go to the biggest channels, sit there, then to move on to Twitch, happen to catch the tournament live, then go over to Discord and log into Discord. You always not like in-game stuff you get. It's just like just be a scam. Like what if I pay $5 and just don't pay me in the end? Scam in the end. In the game, Riot would say this is not a scam. You can join and you get like stuff for it with thousands of people.
Yep.
Yeah, I also think if I may share my experience, I played a lot in Gwent and I was really, really invested. I even stopped going to university like for a semester, half a year. And I would be like on top 20 in the global ladder there. And Gwent had this. They actually had supporting grassroots tournaments. You also got like advertisement. I mean, the Gwent team behind Gwent would read out these tournaments or put it on their website that you could play in like these grassroots tournaments and earn points to qualify for bigger offline tournaments. And I was playing like in all of them, and I would also meet like a lot of other players that were higher meta. So that was just showing how much engagement it got.
Yeah, and it's something in my opinion. It's something that I'm not saying that it has to come out with the game, but I think it's definitely something that you have to be working on, in my opinion, because like it's like don't get me wrong, seasonals is nice, right? Like seasonals and worlds is like dope. It's like something for you to look forward to like every few months, and the worlds is like something you can look forward to like every once a year, right? Which is dope. But I think it definitely turns off a lot of people because they just hear like, oh, it's top 700, you know? That turns off a lot of people because they're like, oh, I have to be like good at the game or I can't play. That's what a lot of people tell me actually that play LOR is like, oh, I'm not good enough to play in seasonals.
Can qualify the last chance. Go far with like heavily.
Yeah,
like a way
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people, not saying that they don't know about Last Chance Gauntlet or anything, but I think a lot of people also think like that's like a huge um commitment, in my opinion. I know it's hard to believe for us, like, you know, I'm not saying we're pro players, but we're really good at the game, I would say.
Probably.
like we also have to remember that people like me and Leer and even Conansson, like we're like the top 1%. And people like Shotox and like, you know, I would say like Majin Bay are like the top 1% of the 1%.
Yeah.
So like we have to remember that. And I think when you put that in perspective, I think a lot of things start to really fall in place a little bit more. Like even yo, I was literally doing research on this. Well, not research because I think it was already out there. But Ruben has been like good at card games forever.
Yeah, he's
so
insane, right?
so like he's also like the top 1% of the 1%. So like I think it puts things in perspective, like how somebody that could be like okay at the game can feel like overwhelmed by like seasonals and like Last Chance Gauntlet, and like they need something else because if it's not those two things that they're playing the game for, then why are they playing the game? And I think that's where grassroots tournaments come in.
Mentioning StarCraft, but literally they have a daily tournament running each hour, I think. I'd say a tournament each hour, like you can't get 8 people hour, like they've joined you the years, and StarCraft's basically dead now, like official support, still playing almost game in the client, and yeah, such kind of you have outside sources and adding friends, and
Mm-hmm.
I have
Yep.
to tell
No, I was just gonna say it's just a big commitment, in my opinion. That's all.
also you have to remember that children or teenagers play the game and might not have the knowledge to go to the account, click on the game in an app to.
100%.
So
Could
Vic
not agree more.
used to say that the competitive scene won't get any support from Riot unless they get really big by themselves.
I mean, it's kind of hard to understand that statement, not gonna lie, because like if we look at a different game that like Riot kind of like built up was like League, right? Like I'm not saying that I was involved in building League at all, like I was not. But I did look at some of the things that happened back then, when League was coming up, and I do remember like tournaments were kind of looked down on by Riot, but they still like I don't to be honest, I don't even know how, but they still were like kind of endorsing the tournaments in my opinion, because like there were still people like sharing the tournaments. There were still people like, you know, allowing the tournaments to flourish and stuff like that. It would like now, and I'm not saying that the LOR team that's working on the Riot team that's working on LOR is like stopping the tournaments from prospering or anything, because they're not. But I think like just sharing the tournaments and kind of like giving a channel for the tournaments to be in is like more than enough that we need, in my opinion. I think the community will literally take care of the rest. Like if they gave us some kind of access to a tournament tab or some kind of access to a way to display our tournaments in the actual client, I think we would literally take that and run, honestly.
Yeah, anything you.
No, I actually totally agree with what we the people said. It's a really good take, I think.
you have any other general questions? In this episode?
I think I'm ready for the outro.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much for joining us on the amazing podcast. We all learned a lot and got to feature, shout out a lot of people. And yeah, you and mail this far, you definitely should try out the mystery tournament. So again, the link is in the description. Go and Twitter sites. Tell you just see how it plays out, see the casting the tournament, host, I think.
Yep.
Do you actually cast some yourself?
I do a little bit of casting, but I be honest, because I'm running production and TOing, it is very difficult. It is very difficult, because I obviously, and also I'm running the Discord as well, so it can be very difficult, because I like we were literally just talking about how it's like low time commitment. But if I'm not literally on top of the bracket, it could become high, like, a lot of time commitment, because like I'm not pushing people through, like I'm not on top of matches being started and stuff like that. So I like to keep things clean. I like to keep things as working as they should. So I try. I like casting, but it's hard to do it during the tournament.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining, and we hope to have you back in future. Maybe if you get invited on the Mystic Shot podcast someday when it returns.
Of course. I gotta interview you guys now. True.
Plot twist. This was Mystic Shot podcast all along.
True. The return of Mystic Shot. Nah. But I appreciate you guys inviting me on 100%. I feel like since I've made a lot of different qualifications now, I literally have not talked about it almost at all. So I appreciate you guys inviting me 100%.
Yeah, glad to have you on the show.
Thank you for watching. See you in the next. Bye.
Goodbye.